Well, folks, when I went on vacation, when I was leaving, I posted this on my X page. I said, where do you think the public count's going to be when I get finished with my vacation? And my vacation officially ends tomorrow, which is a Sunday, which means the market is now closed. So where are we at? $3.36 million is where we were at when we went on vacation for the public count, and $3.595 million is where the public count is. So the public count, while I was on vacation this week, increased in value over $200,000, man. Listen, if I could just go on vacation and make 200 plus thousand, never mind what I made in my other portfolios, like I might just stay on vacation. Like, why do I need to go back to Vegas? Like, this is a life, baby. By the way, hola. I'm in Mexico right now, so I appreciate y'all joining me. I'm on the webcam here today. Had a beautiful dinner with my wife last night. They threw us an unbelievable dinner in a cave. It was something else. Here, let me show you guys a quick little tour, okay? Little tour around the place. There you go. What we got over here, this is a shower, okay? Beautiful steam shower. You got the bathtub out there. You got the private pool, because if the public pools aren't good enough, you got your own private pool here, right in the back. Beautiful. Look at this. And then, you ready for it? You ready for it? Here we go. That's right, baby. Living right. Back to work, as they say. Okay, so we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot that has transpired in the market this week, including AMD stock. The stock is now up 27% in the past month. Unbelievable what's going on with AMD. We'll speak about AMD in this video, what's going on there. How long this is going to continue for? Are we going to reach problems with valuation? We'll speak about that, or if this momentum can continue. Celsius Beverage, another insanely hot stock, up 24% in the past month. It just continues to roll. We'll speak about Celsius in this video. Palantir stock down over 9% on Friday. We'll talk about what's going on there, why something like that is happening. Elf Beauty, 47% gain in the past month. Elf Beauty, unbelievable. So we'll speak about what's going on with Elf, if that can continue or if that's going to end soon. And then Nike was up over 15% on Friday. People looked at the earnings and said, earnings aren't good. Why is the stock blasting higher on bad earnings, right? We'll speak about that in this video. So yeah, we have a lot to get into here today. I appreciate y'all for joining me on a webcam here today. One thing only I need from you guys. I hope you can do it for me. Smash a like on this video. Smash a like button. That's all I need from you guys. I appreciate you joining me. Also, we got a big sale coming up July 4th. We'll do it for 1000X, so 5 days from now, essentially. I'll put that as a pinned comment down there if you're looking for access to that. We can email over the deal or text over the deal when that does drop. It's basically kind of like a half off sale, 4000X for when we get back. And that's full access to the entire research platform, the entire software, the education portion, access to everything, the valuation models, all that good stuff. So definitely make sure you take advantage of that. That will be the pinned comment down there. Okay. Alrighty, let's get rolling here. AMD up first. Okay, listen. AMD. We're now up $82,000 in the public account on AMD. Unbelievable move for the stock because you got to consider 3.5 months ago, I was down significantly on AMD, right? Significantly. And so now to be sitting on an $82,000 gain alone in the public account, it shows you how quick things can switch in the stock market, right? And the issue I see time and time again when we get something like what happened in March and April, right? Major downdraft. I mean, if you look at that downdraft from February 19th through the second week of April, it was significant. We had a major correction that was getting close to being a full-on crash in the market. The NASDAQ was down like 25% from the highs. When you start talking about if you go over 25% and start approaching 30% plus, you've gone through a full-on crash then at that point in time, right? And that's what we are approaching. And so people take this approach of like, I have time to wait on stocks like AMD. I have time to wait, right? AMD got all the way down to the 70s in that April crash. The 70s. It's basically doubled up its price since then, right? And they take this approach of like, they think they have all the time in the world, and they think they know when, the exact moment for the market's going to bottom, and like, that's when I'm going to buy AMD stock. Folks, it doesn't work like that. You've got to, if you see a great opportunity in front of yourself, you got to take advantage of that opportunity then. You can't like wait and be like, maybe in a few months, that's when it's going to bottom. It's going to go down $30. That's where I'm going to buy. No, doesn't work like that. If you get a great opportunity, that's just pure greed. AMD stock, from the highs it reached in 2024 to the lows it was at back in April. Do people realize that stock was down 60+%? One of the best companies in the world, you're getting at a 60% plus discount. And yet the stock market's the one place that people say, oh, you know what? I don't need it right now. It's like if you were doing 60% discounts on anything else, people would gladly take that. Pair of shoes, people are like, oh, 60% discount. Yes, let me go buy that. 60% discount at the food store. Okay. 60% on a vacation. People would be like, oh, sign me up. I'll be on the trip. But yeah, 60% on a stock, one of the greatest companies in the world. And people are like, no, I'll wait on it. Okay, wait. And watch not make money. And think about if I took this stance over the past 16, 17 years in the market of, seeing great discounts, because the amount of discounts I've gotten in the past 16, 17 years in the stock market, right, is ridiculous. Imagine if I took that stance of like, you know what, I'm going to wait it. I'm going to wait to see. Imagine, when I got in the market 08, 09, we were in like a 50% crash. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to wait to get in the market or start investing till 70% crash, because it might go even worse. What are we talking about here, right? And that's the issue. If you want to get to the sort of lifestyle, the sort of place you want to get, when you see a great opportunity in front of yourself, you take advantage of that opportunity. You don't just like wait it out and be like, I might go lower. No, because you know what? If you were that good at predicting the market, like, in terms of these short-term moves, like, you would already have positioned yourself properly for AMD. You've already been betting on downside puts, right? And you already known that AMD's bottoming there. So to be taking a stance of like, I got a 60% plus discount on one of the greatest companies in the world, I'm not going to take advantage of that, even though the valuation model, if you understand how to run valuation models, you could look at AMD a few months ago and be like, this is a steal deal. Like, this is giving me free money, and not just free money, but like a money compounding machine. And that's where running valuation models come in, because that's where you can put the math behind it. It's not just a feeling of like, oh, Lisa Sue's talking about this might be big. No. It's running the math. It's running the valuation models. And we got all that on 1000X stocks, right? We got the advanced models. We got the intermediate models. We got the model all laid out. All you got to do is adjust numbers, right? We got the analyst estimates there, all that. And then you can begin to understand, dude, AMD in the 70s, like, are you kidding me? That's a freaking joke, right? And, AMD and even 140 is still looking very, very good. And we'll speak about that. So what's going on here in regards to AMD? Well, Melius upgrades AMD on inference potential. Wonder where we heard a lot of inference talk on AMD. Maybe this channel. Melius Research upgraded AMD to buy from hold, citing its potential in inferencing. Melius analyst Benjamin, who also upped his price target to $175 from $110, said even though shares have gained about 25% year to date, he has increased conviction that investors will gain more confidence in AMD's GPU prospects throughout the year. Quote, investors are about to envision even bigger GPU figures in 2026 through 2028, given a substantial surge in inferencing, where investing in AMD's platform seems to be more attractive for hyperscalers and sovereigns. Another analyst also raised their price target to, they raised their rating on the stock to a strong buy from a buy. They also upped their price target to 165 from 125. The stock right now is about 143. So both these guys basically are saying there's significant upside to AMD shares from here, right? Which, are their price targets realistic for the next 12 months on AMD? 165, 175? My personal opinion is I think they're low. I think they're pretty darn low, just to be quite frank with you guys. Now, If you watch the videos I put on the main channel last couple days, or a couple days, I'm so used to recording videos all the time that I forget it's been like 8 days since I recorded a video on the main channel. The last time I was recording videos on the main channel, okay, if you go back and watch those videos, I explain in those videos exactly what was going to happen with AMD stock, right? First, you get the experienced retail investors to come in, people like myself and some of you guys probably out there and other folks that have been investing in the market for a long time. We see a great opportunity. We understand what the future holds for AMD. And we go ahead, we start making investments into it, right? And we usually help set a kind of floor for a stock that was going through a tough time like AMD, right? Then management comes in with their numbers. They come in with their guidance. Things start looking a little rosier, a little better, and you start to get some analysts upgrading the stock, which is exactly what we're seeing, like just what happened on Friday, right? You get this analyst to come out, this analyst to come out. Oh, we're now slapping a strong buy on the stock. We're now taking our price target to 165. We're now taking our price target to 175, right? From there, you start getting some hedge funds to start buying in the stock, like, because they start reading these analyst notes. Hedge funds are lazy. A lot of these hedge fund managers, or as I always tell you guys, they're more focused on trying to keep close relationships with their very best clients rather than, doing the research on understanding why AMD's MI350 is a big deal or why MI400 is a big deal. Those guys are on a whole different plane. They're looking at a lot of these analysts and what they're saying, and some of them say, you know what? I like what this analyst is saying about AMD. It seems like it's got momentum, seems like it's got a good future. They start buying in, right? Causes a price to go up. And the more all this happens, the more it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy of like price targets get hit, then analysts have to upgrade them, right? Then they get even more bullish. It's like a whole compounding effect. Then you get more analysts to come in and upgrade, right? The ones that maybe weren't the early ones to kind of change their stance. They start coming over, upping their price targets, upping their buys to strong buys, their holds to buys, right? And next thing you know, you got all of Wall Street buying in. That's similar to like what has happened with NVIDIA last few years, right? If you look at what happened to NVIDIA last 2 or 3 years, exactly the situation, right? Experienced retail found it first. Then some analysts started to come in and be like, hey, I think NVIDIA's got some good things going on. Some hedge funds start buying in, right? Then you got more analysts. And then, as a company just executes, it just is a self-fulfilling prophecy, essentially, and that's what we're basically witnessing right now in regards to AMD, and you're going to see us a lot more over the next 1 to 2 years specifically, and that's where the biggest moves are made for these stocks, right? Now, additionally, Loop Capital came out on Friday, and they raised their price target on nvidia to 250 from 175, which is a huge raise of the price target, huge raise. The analysts cited a belief that hyperscale and AI factor spending could reach $2 trillion by 2028. The brokerage believes NVIDIA could hit $6 trillion market cap on the view the company essentially has a monopoly in critical tech and strong pricing power. This just helps the positive momentum around AMD, right? Just positivity. NVIDIA's got this going on, right? AMD's got this going on. We know these hyperscalers have years of big spend ahead of them. And so the numbers are going to be there for quite a while, right? After 2028, who knows? We'll see, right? And obviously, NVIDIA has got the law of large numbers catching up with them, obviously, over this next, 2026, 2027. AMD doesn't have to deal with that. AMD doesn't have the law of large numbers catching up with them. They're just going to be able to power through this. And so that is something else to kind of keep in mind in regards to the difference between NVIDIA and AMD, right? Now, additionally, AMD, this stock is down 10% the past year. And I show you that because you think about this stock is around doubled roughly from those lows back 3 months ago or so, right? But the stock is still down about 10% in the past year. So we haven't even got to the stock to be positive yet on a year basis. That's still coming. So you got to understand, this is very early innings in regards to this whole AMD move. I know you guys see it and it's like, wow, look at the stock starting to make so much money. This is early. This stock is negative 10% on a year basis. Come on, man. And then, by the way, as we get closer over here, it's going to look even worse on a negative year-over-year basis, right? So where's AMD stock headed from here? I'll tell you where AMD stock's headed from here. It's headed to all-time highs. All-time highs for AMD around 208, 210, somewhere around there roughly. That was reached, if I recall, in the first quarter of 2024. That was kind of the fake out. And I wasn't invested in AMD at that particular time, but some people were getting hyped about AMD. They thought AMD was ready for prime time. It was not ready for prime time at that time. So people got this like fake out. They started buy AMD stock left and right, 140, 160, 180, 200 plus. And then they didn't realize like AMD wasn't ready for the prime time. So they got their timing totally off, and that's how AMD got a bad rep about like advanced money destroyer and advanced money disintegrator and all those sorts of things, because people didn't get the timing right. The time to be buying AMD is over the last few months, because the time that people were excited about back at early 2024, that's now finally coming here in the middle of this year. And so now MI350's gone into production. We're going to start to see that huge in the next quarter numbers. And then we're going to continue to see those orders just pile in over the next basically year. And then probably sometime around this time next year, MI400 comes out. We'll see like when they end up launching that. My guess is MI350 is going to have crazy momentum. So my guess is MI400, they'll probably not launch that till mid-year. But we'll see. Maybe they come out with it earlier. But when MI400 hits, you got to understand that's a whole different trajectory of the company at that particular time. Because when Lisa Su talks about MI400, she says things like 10x performance over what you had just seen earlier this year with the early MI300 series. So the orders for the MI400 are going to be ridiculous. The MI350 is going to be insane. But you haven't seen anything yet until we see the 400 series. And so you just got to understand, like, we're coming for all-time highs. Now, is every single day, every single week, every single month going to be straight up for AMD? No, it doesn't have to be. But the moral of the story is we're coming for all-time highs. And then we're going to bust right through those babies. And then people are going to be like, and I understand, man, there's a lot of people that sold out, especially a lot of Wall Street funds, probably even some retail that sold out as this stock just went down and down and down. They got the timing wrong. I don't know what else to say. And this happens with some of these stocks sometimes. People get too excited too fast. Tesla was a good example of that many years ago. So actually, Tesla's been a great example of this twice. People got way too excited about Tesla around like 2000, this was around like 2014, 2015. People were so excited about EVs, the future, blah, 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 like Elon Musk, oh my gosh, Tesla's brilliant. What ended up happening is Tesla stock ran like insane. And then what happened after that? Tesla was a stagnant stock for like 5 or 6 years. And then what else did we witness? That Tesla go through that same exact cycle again. If you look at Tesla stock on almost a 5-year basis now, but certainly on a 4.5 year basis, you're either break even, you're down after holding that stock for 4+ years. And soon it'll be 5 years, right? And probably even going on 6 years. And so you're going to understand, if you get your timing significantly off and you pay too much for a company at the wrong time, you could be sitting on a stock for years of doing nothing, essentially. AMD here, the timing's been perfect. If you've been buying it the last few months, if you've been buying AMD the last, we could just say, if you've been buying AMD in 2025, your timing, impeccable. Absolutely impeccable. You either lucked into that or you know what you were doing and boom. Either way, money, right? One of the things that gives me such great conviction about AMD, like let's say, Am I planning on selling AMD stock anytime soon? Seeing how much momentum it has, seeing that next thing you know, we'll be talking about all-time highs for AMD. Am I planning on selling my AMD anytime soon? The answer is absolutely not. Why would I? MI350 is just going into production. MI400 is going to be insane. Then they're going to come out with an MI450 chip. That's going to be insane. Google is going to be making more money than ever over the next few years. Meta is going to be making more money than ever for the next few years. Amazon's going to be making more money than ever. Microsoft's going to be making more money than ever. So the biggest customers are looking good. So why do I need to rush out of AMD anytime soon? And when it comes to this company, I got a picture of Lisa Su here for a reason. I own a company where I literally have one of the best CEOs in the world running it. Do not forget, when shortly after Lisa Su took over this company, this was a $2 chuck stock, $2 a share. $2 a share. It's $143. And before you know it, we'll be talking about this stock's going to be back over 200. And shortly after she took it over, it was a $2 chuck. So, seeing what Lisa Su has pulled off over the last decade in regards to stock price, in regards to the revenue of the company, the margins, the profits, the positioning, the employee force, I feel pretty comfortable. Now, the next thing you got to say, do we have valuation problems on AMD? So the first thing you got to understand about AMD is they're likely, my guess is very highly likely, going to come in and smash analyst estimates for the next 2 years. That's my guess. Or at least the next, we can call it, year and a half. There will be a point in time when AMD eventually, the numbers start getting so great that analysts will essentially be in a situation where they'll start to get like ahead of the stock. But that's a long time away. Like, we're still probably a year and a half to 2 years away from that stage of AMD. I mean, the earliest, maybe a year. We can call it that. So when you look at AMD's forward P, 2-year forward P, understand they're probably going to come in and smash numbers. And so it's probably going to be way better than this. And so when you look at AMD at a 41 forward P, understand it's probably lower than that. But given what AMD's growth rate should be, that's not even high. Even if it was at 41, that's not high given what AMD's growth rates are. When you look at a 2-year forward P under 20 for this company, understand that's low, very low. They're likely going to come in with much better earnings per share than analysts have over the next couple of years. And even if it was 17, given the growth rates of the company and the positioning, like, this is not bad at all, okay? So AMD's looking good. Celsius Holdings, this is a stock. Look at this one. Public count, we're up $85,000 now, almost $86,000, up 88% on the stock. Not as big of a conviction buy for me as AMD has been, but a buy nonetheless, in a good sized position and one that's performing very well. So what's going on with Celsius? Well, I have some very exciting things to tell you that are going on right now in regards to Celsius and how sell-through is going of their drinks. Check this out. What I'm showing you right now, this is Beverage Nielsen winners for the latest Nielsen data. And they found that Celsius was one of the biggest winners. They also had Vita Coco and Michelob Ultra in there. Energy drinks shined bright in a release of new Nielsen data that covers a wide array of retail channels, including food, D-Rug, mass merchandisers such as Target, Walmart, dollar stores, warehouse clubs like Costco, BJ's, convenience stores, liquor stores, e-commerce platforms like Amazon. So what's going on here? Well, total energy drink sales were up 15.3% for the 4-week period ended June 14th. Remember, all this data kind of lags a little bit. So this is like the newest data that came out. Sugar-free energy drink sales soared 30%. Very bullish for Celsius. Quote, across our beverage coverage universe, on a relative basis, the sequential data appears more favorable for Celsius given acceleration in brand Celsius and Alani Nu. Alani Nu is a new brand they just bought very recently that's been a very fast-growing brand. Highlighted JP Morgan analyst, Andrea, Celsius recorded a 42.1% year-over-year sales increase for the Nielsen tracking data. Insane, right? Now, the big pop is mostly attributed to the addition of the popular Alani Nu brand to the mix. Celsius market share position came in at 15.9%, almost 16% market share position, its highest ever. And I think Celsius is on its way to becoming a 20% market share player. So, very bullish in regards to Celsius. Now, the thing you got to understand about Celsius and the stock, this is a stock that you could have bought for $20-something, like low 20s just a few months ago. Why is it now 45? Well, the game's been changed with regard to Celsius. Like, Celsius was in a major downtrend, right? Sales were just getting worse and worse and worse. But now that we're looking at our charts feature on 1000xstocks.com, this is just the revenue tab. You can do quarterly or trailing 12-month. Look at what's expected to happen to Celsius's revenue now at this point in time over the coming quarters. We've got a fundamental change in Celsius' business model. Not a small change, a fundamental change. Because Celsius brand is going from decline in sales to now an uptrend in sales. Additionally, the Alani deal that has just gone through recently, that's going to add so much fuel to the fire for essentially this stock to move upward from here. And so in regards to the revenue for this company, for now that the Alani deal's gone through. So the moral of the story is that the company's fundamentally changed. They're like, this is not a small change. This is a fundamental change for the next many years. And that adds a lot of excitement around Celsius stock in general, right? And so Celsius, will it continue to perform? Listen, it's as simple as this. If this Nielsen data keeps coming in good, yes, the stock will continue to perform. It'll perform tremendous for a while. My guess is, could Celsius eventually take out all-time highs, which is around $100 a share? Yes. I don't think it happens all at once. That'll be a gradual recovery, right? But it's got a long runway of growth ahead. And so, the story with Celsius is pretty darn exciting. Next up here, Palantir. So Palantir was down huge. Position that we've done tremendous on, the public count up 1,673%. This is one that went down over 9% on Friday. So, in regards to Palantir, this is a very interesting time period in regards to Palantir stock history. Because just this week, Palantir stock hit a new all-time high, right? And I was reading through comments, just kind of seeing like what the vibes were around Palantir. And you got guys like this. He says, my investment guy recommended me this at $17 and I passed. I want to first know who his investment guy is that recommended it at 17, man. Should have been buying at 5, 6, 7, but 17 is not bad. And I passed because of conflicting reports from writers and commenters and from readers. I could not muster enough conviction to buy. And now I sit here and ponder the what ifs and should have. That's why you guys got to learn this game. Guys like this happen all the time. Oh, I heard this stock was going to be great, but I didn't buy it because I didn't know. Dude, maybe you should have done a little more research. Maybe you should have ran projections on Palantir because Palantir was a screaming buy at 17. Was it as big of a buy as it was at 7? No. Or 6? No. But it was still a screaming buy at 17. If this man knew what he was doing in the market, if he understood how to value growth stocks, if he had access to run projections on a company, he knew how to do that, right? Which you can learn all through 1000X. Make sure you take advantage of that sale because you don't want to be like this freaking guy. Dude, he would have made so much money, it's ridiculous. But instead, he was lazy. And he was just reading through some comments. He was reading through some articles. And he's like, I don't know. The world is yours. It was right there for him. It was right there for him. But he chose, I don't know, laziness. Instead of doing more research, instead of running projections, running numbers, come on, man. These stories happen all the freaking time. You know how many people are like, man, AMD was down to 70 something back in April. I should have bought, right? Well, I didn't know. I read something bad about AMD. And people were complaining they lost money. It's like, dude, maybe you should have done the work. Well, Celsius, I should have bought it. ELF. Oh, man, ELF. That was back at $49. I should have bought it. Maybe you should have done a little more research. Should have ran some projections, Whew, you miss out on these opportunities. It's crazy. This person says, great for insiders to cash out in regards to Palantir, right? All insiders are heading for the exits. NVIDIA CEO just sold 20 million shares. This sort of stuff. There's always going to be a negative sentiment. And it's not like they don't have a fair point there. It's just like there's always a lot of negative sentiment when you have stocks like Palantir that people have made fortunes of money on. Just the amount of people in my private stock group alone that had made between, let's call it, $25,000 on Palantir to potentially several $1 million on Palantir is a long list of private group members. I see how many people have major positions in Palantir, and the amount that just made fortunes over this past few years in that stock is ridiculous. And so when you have a lot of success in that, some people, they get a little jealous. And once again, not to say, insider selling is not something worth mentioning, but I'll tell you, a lot of people bring that up because deep down inside, they're very jaded. They see how much money people have made and they think, why can't I freaking made that money? They made so much money, and I get it. But in regards to Palantir, this is very simple. Let me put it to you like this, in what's going on with Palantir stock and where the stock's headed. Listen, the stock trades at a ridiculous PE ratio. The trailing 12-month PE's in the 500s, folks. Normal stocks trade in the 20 to 28 range. Now, you can say Palantir doesn't deserve to trade anywhere near normal because the growth rates are much better. 100% fair. 100% fair. But when we're talking in the 500s, that's ridiculous. You need great news after great news after great news after great news to come out for Palantir. Every single day for people to say, I got to go buy more Palantir. I don't want to sell it when you're trading at a 500 plus P ratio. We even look at a forward P. The forward P is in the 200s and the 2-year forward P is in the hundreds, right? That's 2 years out. I don't know what other way to put it. Palantir needs to be perfect at all times. There could be nothing negative coming out about the company. Everything's got to be great. It's all got to be great news. And then in regards to the numbers, listen, next year, a lot of analysts have this company only growing revenue at 23% next year. If Palantir only grows revenue 23% next year, the stock's crashing, folks. We're going to see a 60, 70, 80% downward move in Palantir stock. If that company only grows low 20% from where it's reached highs recently, this company needs to be growing 40% plus revenues per year for several years to go in the future. Even if it went down to 30%, way too low. We're crashing. Not as dramatic as if it went down to 23%, but the moral of the story is Palantir's got to come in with ridiculous numbers for the next several years to justify the valuation. If we get any glimpse that that's not going to happen, the stock, as Elon Musk would put it, will get crushed like a souffle. It'll be a croissant that we go like this, and it's done. That's what will happen to Palantir. But for now, as long as the numbers keep coming in good, 40% plus revenue growth, it's going to be hard to get the stock down in any meaningful way. And when I say meaningful way, I'm talking about like under $100 essentially, right? Now, ELF. You want to talk about the hottest stock probably in the whole entire stock market last few months? It's ELF. Look at the move since April 17th. The stock is up 152%. A shocking, ridiculous, insane amount, right? Now, I've held ELF shares for many, many years. I have shares in the public count that I've held since February 27, 2019. Whew. It was a good day to be buying ELF stock. Back then, the stock was $7.28 back then, right? And I only put like $7,000 into the stock in terms of these shares I have here. And I mean, the shares, that $7,000 is now worth $126,000. Absolutely insane. So ELF's been a tremendous performer, one of the most well-run companies of the past, I would say 5 or 6 years in the entire stock market. But the thing is with ELF is you see that gain, but you've had such a great opportunity to make a lot of money. This is a position I started in the Patreon portfolio a few months ago, right? And we're already doubled up the money there. We're already up to 115% gain in regards to ELF Beauty. It was a tremendous buying opportunity ELF gave us, obviously, in the springtime, right? Now, with ELF, you got to understand, this is a very similar phenomenon that Celsius has been going through. This is like Celsius 2.0 with a side of tariffs, essentially, okay? But essentially, remember what I told you about Celsius. Celsius, like numbers going down, then it looks like the core business is coming back strong again, and they got the big acquisition, so that's going to boost numbers up in a massive way. Guess what's going on with ELF? The same exact situation. ELF numbers getting worse. Now it looks like likely in the back half of this year, ELF's numbers for the core business get better, but then they just announced a road acquisition, a month or two ago now at this point in time, right? And that's going to be a massive catalyst to boost numbers up in 2026. So the same phenomenon we talked about earlier with Celsius is basically happening right now with ELF. And so what you're going to see in 2026 from ELF is massive acceleration in revenue growth. And remember, they talked about going up on their products like $1 or something like that because of tariffs. And like I always told you guys, like people aren't going to stop buying ELF because they went up $1 on the product. That's not how it works. You just don't have a great alternatives that are priced in the price points that ELF is. And so ELF's going to put up tremendous growth for their brand again in 26, right? And probably even start in the back half of this year, but 26 is a real year. And then the road acquisition goes through, numbers are going to be flying in 2026. So people are positioned into ELF before that, right? But remember, I talked about we got a side order of tariffs in regards to this whole situation. And the bottom line is with the tariffs in regards to China, right, is it's not as serious as it was. That's the bottom line in regards to that. The two sides have their tariffs set for now. Eventually, they'll probably get more of a concrete deal done. It's not right now, though, right? But the moral of the story is, when everybody was freaked out about 140 and 160% tariffs, that's long over now at this point in time, right? No, you might say, well, Trump could change his mind. He could go back to 145% tariffs, all these things. Look what he just did with Canada. I mean, the whole Canada situation is, in my opinion, I think that's just Trump kind of doing Trump stuff like, I'm terminating the trade talks with you, Canada. Like, that's just the type of stuff he does. And so could he go back and do something like this? And next thing you know, we got 140, 150% tariffs on China again. Potential. But it seems like he's already done the big fighting with China now at this point in time. And it's just about trying to work out a deal now at this point in time. So that's my opinion in regards to that. Nike, next up here. Nike making a 15% plus move on Friday. People are like, what? What is going on in regards to Nike? The numbers weren't good. Who said the numbers got to be good for the stock to go flying? You got to understand in regards to short-term stock price moves, there's a ton of different factors in there. Nike's down off a mile from where it was at just a few years ago. This is a beaten down dog stock, like beaten down. And guess what? As soon as the story changes a little bit from insanely negative to like a little positive, you get massive moves up in a stock price. Now, what did I tell you guys? I'm sure a lot of you guys follow me on the reaction channel. Jeremy Lefebvre Makes Money, right? The very last video I released, which was about 6 days ago now at this point in time, right before I left for the trip, right? What did I talk about in that video? I talked about a lot of things, but one thing was Nike and their earnings, because I knew people were going to want me to cover that before I left town. And I said, all the management team has to do is signal for the bottom. I said, no one cares about what this quarter's numbers are. No one. It's irrelevant. All that people care about is that Elliott Hill calls a bottom in the business and he's confident that things are going to get better and better from here. So that's it. And if that happens, the stock price is going to move. And I even spoke in that video and mentioned even specifically about 70s, right? And so Nike stock huge. You know why? Because the CEO says the recovery's coming. He called a bottom in the business, essentially, and things are going to get better from here. That's all that needed to happen. And then you got analysts coming out, like this gentleman, or folks that, let's just call it our Wall Streeters. He says Nike is getting to the point of under-promising and over-delivering, which is going to be a great next couple years for Nike, where they can under-promise, over-deliver, get the positive momentum all going in a huge way, right? And so that's what's going on here in regards to Nike. And then somebody in the private stock group, I thought, left a really good comment because, somebody else that doesn't really follow Nike that much, they said, not understanding why Nike's up so much today. When I read the news, sounds negative. What am I missing? And one of our private stock group members said, I was going to mention this earlier. This price change goes to show you how much Nike is usually loved by the stock market, that this talk of being the bottom and it's going up from here has caused institutions to start buying back Nike. Financial Education Jeremy has talked about it a few times. Yep. This has been a beloved stock for decades, and it seems that just the management team talking that the company is going to start putting up better numbers makes people want to buy back in. Yeah, 100%. This is a very beloved stock, and I told you guys, as soon as people feel like there's a bottom in the business, they're going to come flying back to Nike, because that is one of the core positions that Wall Streeters feel comfortable investing into. Because Nike is usually a company you can always count on growing, other than this one freak-off kind of freak situation, okay? And so we got this freak situation that has occurred here with Nike. That is now over. Everything's expected to get better. They're going to get back to solid growth moving forward, right? In 2026, 2027, and beyond. Margins will be increasing. Profits will be increasing, in my opinion, right? And that's what we'll see play out. And Nike is one of the most loved stocks in the stock market, other than the past few years. And so people will be happy to fly back to that stock, because they'll have the consistent growth again, and they're one of the most loved brands in the world that everybody can, like, if you own Nike, like, no one's going to question you other than this little time period we went through. But owning Nike in the future, like, if you're a Wall Streeter and you got it in your fund, no one's going to be like, what, Nike stock? I don't know. That's crazy. Nope. So that's good, man. And so that's what we have going on here in regards to Nike. One of our private stock group members said, one of Nike's best days in history. Yep. Sure was. I think it was the third best day in Nike's history, right? And so keep in mind, a lot of the biggest moves you ever see in a stock are when they come off these insane bottoms like Nike has, right? You know me, I very rarely ever do anything option related. And usually if I'm doing anything option related, I'm buying puts to, essentially hedge a portfolio, right? Recently, I actually opened up call options on Nike just because the stock has been trading so ridiculously low recently, and I believe Nike has a very, let's call it nice next couple of years ahead for the company. So I actually stepped out there and bought some call options recently, and those ones just exploded to the upside. These $75 strikes here that expire January 2027, they were up $11,000. Insane move, up 62%, because it's not like I put a lot when I do options. Usually it's like small amounts of money, relatively speaking. These $100 strikes were up $9,700, up 78%, and these 125 calls were up $6,200, up 49%. Why are the 125s not up nearly as much as, like, say the $100 calls? Couple of reasons. $100 is always going to have a lot more demand for Nike for kind of like longer dated out. It's just an even number. Like, people feel more confident, right? A little closer to it's a good combo of like closer to in the money, but still like really good money making opportunity. People would view it as, right? 125 is kind of still way out there. You're looking at a stock that's 72 bucks right now. So for the stock to get to 125 by 2027, people are like, ugh, it's a little risky. You'll see the 125s move huge if the stock goes over $80. If the stock heads over 80 and then we start talking about the stock's making its next move toward 100, that's when you'll see the 125s go crazy. Because then people will be like, oh, we got to get on those 125s because, the stock's heading to 150 or 175 or something like that, right? So it's a whole game to play out. Hundreds are kind of that perfect kind of middle ground right now for where Nike's at, where people are saying, you know what, I can see that being realistic, and this is a great money-making opportunity. Now, am I going to hold these all the way to January 2027? Maybe. Probably not, though. My guess is at some point in time, especially if the stock explodes to $125, $120 in the next, 6 to 12 months, I'll probably cash out of them at some point in time. I don't usually like to hold options all the way till they expire. So that's probably what I'll do as far as that goes. All right, guys, I covered a lot in this video. I'm about to go chill at the pool, go swim in the ocean, do all that good stuff, eat some good food, and I'm out, okay? Appreciate you guys for joining me. Thanks so much for being here. Looking forward to getting back this upcoming week for you guys, getting on a content regular schedule. Once again, we got that massive 4th of July sale for 1000xstocks.com, the entire research platform and education portion of 1000x. Make sure you take advantage of that. That will be pinned comment down there. Click on that. If you're confused or like, what is 1000x? What is everything you get access to? Click the pin comment down there, watch a video. I put a video together right before I left town that explains right on the website, what you get, everything you're getting access to. And once you see that video, you're like, oh, this is like insane. Like I definitely need access to this. So that will be pinned comment down there. Alrighty guys, much love as always and have a great day.